the Take-Two, but basically what I was saying, folks, is that I'm glad that I can finally get to showcase some women in games and not just some dudes making games, because we know that they can do it, but there are other people who are making games and it's worth showcasing. So Ivan and Chiara are here today, so could you introduce yourselves a little bit and let people know a few more details about yourselves?
Yes, I'm gonna let Chiara start.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Chiara Orsi. I'm a 3D artist and designer based in Italy. I started as graphic designer, and at first I worked in creative agencies, but soon I realized that I didn't want to only create graphic content. So in 2019, I had the great opportunity to work with VR technology, and that opportunity gives me this new work and this new way to concept and make creativity. And so here I am. I'm working in game art and creating video games, and it was a really long path, but rich of changing and evolution. So here we am.
That's awesome. How about you, Ivana? What was your trajectory?
Well, I am first of all nice to meet you all in the chat. It's a very huge pleasure for me to be here. I am a script writer and narrative designer. I first started out as a script writer, especially for comic books and mangas, which you can see. So you can see some of them here on the screen, and my main topic, my main field of work is writing in all its different how do we say shapes.
Aspects.
Yeah, I define myself as a transmedia writer because I also do animation and video games. Even though I have a background in writing for the screen, for cinema, I also specialized in video games with Susan O'Connor, who
Mhm.
is the game writer of Bioshock. And that led me to both concepting and developing some independent games, as the ones you can see on the screen, and ultimately movie rooms with Matt Pumpkins. Apart from that, me and Chiara are Women in Games ambassadors, so we're advocates for rights of women in audiovisual and video games, especially. And I'm also the co-founder of IGDA Milan, so it's our local chapter in which we organize events, free panels, and master classes for our community. But we're here mainly to talk about movie rooms.
Right. Why did you prepare for us? What do you wanna tell us about movie rooms, and like how did the whole idea of movie rooms came about? Like, what triggered the whole thing?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, Movie Rooms is a cinema management game. So it means that in the game, you will have to create, to build, to customize, and make your own cinema empire. So you have to build your own cinema room. And this is it, but there's much more in it because you have to manage it through the different eras. So since the very early times of cinema in Paris, for example, in France, to contemporary days, to even the future. So it's a game that has been conceived to give to the players a unique experience, not only watching the films but also managing the places in which the magic
Mhm.
happens. The idea is not ours, it's Arianna's, which is Arianna Lona is our
Mhm.
founder and producer. She started out a few years ago now, it was 2020. And after we won a grant in Italy, thanks
Mhm.
to Cinecittà and Lazio Innova, we managed to create our startup. And here we are, talking about movie rooms. which is, as I said, a management tycoon game. So you have to manage the cinemas in different eras, while of course learning something more about cinema and having fun. The core gameplay of the game is to build, manage, program all the movies that you rent in the different levels, and hire and manage your stuff. Just to give you a hint of what's behind the story mode, it will feature 9 different levels, plus a sandbox mode. There are 2 levels which are already developed in our pre-alpha version of the game, plus the sandbox mode. So we also have some partnerships, and I'm gonna let Chiara speak about that.
Yeah, thanks to this fun approach to the cinema history, and so of course its technologies and cultural evolutions, there is a strong component in the game of culture and technology, history, evolutions. So we aim to produce high quality content with a connection to reality, and this is possible because we aim to connect with cultural and global institutions that gave us all the informations and technical, documentation to achieve this result. So this is one of the goals that we want to achieve when we produce the content of the game. For example, assets, props, and characters represent movies, etc.
So you want to ground the game into reality, not make it like just a fun game. Like it has some roots into reality, I understand.
Yeah, this is basically it. One of our main objectives as a team is not only to educate about cinema culture, also letting the players discover how beautiful it is to go to the cinema, to physically go to the movie rooms, to experience the cinema. Because I mean, we all love streaming platforms and video on demand, but cinemas are unique, and the fact that they are slowly disappearing or decreasing in popularity is very important for us, just to try to stop this trend as we can do. I mean, it's only a very little action, the hours, but we will try.
I mean, it's a small action, but it can be something like a butterfly effect, where things just grow and grow, and people get aware that, hey, cinemas are not dead, or are not as dead as people think. They're still out there. They still offer an experience, because that's the thing with games and with media in general. You don't really buy the thing itself, you buy the experience, and cinema is a unique experience in itself.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Is that all for the presentation?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, let's get to a bigger screen so people can see us better. But how did you get to work on this project, or what drove you into working on such a project? Ivana, if you wanna start.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned that we are part of an association called Women in Games. This is exactly how we got to know a movement, because me and Arianna used to live in the same city back then, which is Milan. I now keep on living there, even though I'm now talking from the south of Italy. Arianna has moved to another city, but back then we were having this aperitivo, as all Italians do. We were trying to organize some events for this organization for the local community, which basically then evolved in the co-founding of IGDA Milan. So both me and Arianna are in the board of IGDA Milan to foster our community. So we were talking. She was telling me about this game. I was telling her about my previous experiences in the cinema industry. And when she told me more about the concept of the game, I was completely drawn by it. So I was generally saying to her, okay, if you need any help with game writing and narrative design, just feel free to reach out. And she basically just said, yes, we do need someone to write our games, so why not? And this is how it started, with a cocktail, some laughs, and lots of love for cinema.
Awesome. How about you, Chiara? How did you come along?
Yeah, in January 2023, Ariana was looking for a 3D artist to build an alpha version of the game, because it was really small at the time and it needs a lot of props, character assets, and so on. So I met her because I knew the programmer, and we worked back in the days in VR technology together. And so Constantine, we have again audio problems maybe.
I don't think I'm still muted.
I don't, it's Arianna who reached out to us from LinkedIn, I suppose. I don't know if it's any difference.
What?
I don't know. Okay, she said to me that now it's okay.
Okay, she's looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Arianna.
Hello.
And so, yeah, I just jumped in and started to produce and learn a lot, because this topic, the cinema and the cinema history, it's very interesting and it offers a lot. And so I was really, really happy to work with her and this project.
Like, I'm honestly curious, how do you build a narrative for such a game, Ivana? Like, what were the, let's say, pillars on which you built this game in terms of the narrative?
Yeah. Well, as I told you, when I got to know the project was still pretty advanced in the production. So it was basically in the same phase in which it is now. Of course, now it features more levels, but it was in the pre-alpha stage of production. So lots of it was already being laid out. There were many levels already existing, lots of game design documentation already laid out, the art and stuff. So basically, I had a full game experience, let's say, on which I had to build a narrative. This is not an uncommon thing in the video game industry, because when narrative designers and game writers jump in, it's usually in the latest parts of production, unless the game is a narrative driven one. So in that case, of course, the pipeline is different. So the game was already existing, so I had to come up with some kind of narrative concept for it. I started looking at references. So simulation games, tycoon games, management games, and what I found out is that there were not that many reference for this kind of games with a narrative in it. So I tried asking myself, since we have this little cute mascot called Gaspard, which is an Oscar-like character who will guide us throughout the game, I was like, okay, we have this character. We have the possibility to jump from one era to the other in the game. So there is time travel in it. We need a way to turn those mechanics, those features who are there, they cannot be changed, into something else, something more engaging, something that mixes well all these features together. So what I came up with is a sort of mystery story. So cinema history got messed up. So all the directors, the actors, actresses that made the story of cinema, the history of cinema, were misplaced into a different era. So you could have, for example, George Lucas trapped in the early stages of cinema, or I don't know, Salvador Dali into the future, something like that. Those are not actual examples, but just to give you an idea of what there's in the game, actually. So Gaspard, our mascot, goes to us, the players, and asks for our help. We need to go find those historical figures who are misplaced into cinema history, try to find and convince them to go back to their original timeline, and by doing that, we will basically save the history of cinema. That also turned out to be key for some other narrative design features. Of course, we have, as I said to you, 9 different levels. So each level should be different in some way, not only aesthetically, but also gameplay wise. One of the levels we already have is Italy in the 30s. As you know, in that back then there used to be a dictatorship in Italy. So being a game speaking about contemporary history, we also have to tell also the darkest parts of our story. So we will have, as a gameplay feature, the censorship. We will have a censor physically coming to our cinema and telling us not to program certain movies. But we will also have an historical VIP who does want to watch those movies, which are forbidden. So it's up to us. Do we want to follow the rules and maybe have our cinema shut down? Or do we want to go on with the story mode and try to make this VIP happy? So this is my mental workflow I followed to try to turn what we had, the cinema history, into some gameplay mechanics.
Are you the only narrative person working on the story of the game and what's gonna happen? Oh,
Yes.
you got big boots to fill.
Oh yeah, it is. But I feel like I'm in good company, because I am the only narrative designer. But there's our game director, Marie Legrand, who is French, who also is our game designer. So I'm not the only one laying out the gameplay mechanics, because I'm basically building something more on what she already did. So going on with the different levels, we will basically work as a team on developing game design and narratives.
How about you, Chiara? How do things look on the 3D art side? Like, how did you build the visual identity on the 3D art side?
So, as Ivana said before, there is a very important consideration to do on cultural contexts, because, for example, when realizing game assets, it's important to delve into some technical aspects, because there was an extensive historical research on how exactly objects were made and how they were built. And of course, this idea is were applied throughout various cinematic periods, because every decade everything changes. So there is an evolution also in the technology, and for creating assets that was really important. So because of the game 3D cartoon look, to design those props, I need to study technical specifications, and as I said, how they exactly were made. And it was a research, so to finally create items that brings the essence of that objects to life. So because it wasn't a realistic style, so I need to take the essence out, and that's why I need to realize objects that tells stories, because they actually were born in a specific context in the history. So as Ivana said before, in Italy in those years there was a pressure in certain fields. You were not free to tell or speak about something, some topics. So in this specific case, there were artistic effort in comprehension. And talking about that, for example, there was a study really interesting on the projector. That is, an icon of the cinema. So in the early 1900s, the projector wasn't like we know today. It was kind of a magic lantern. So it was the projection was really strange and simple. There is this magic lantern with a light inside, with these small frames behind the light and the lenses, and the screen wasn't at the opposite side of the room, but it was in front of the lantern, and right behind all the audience. And of course, there wasn't sound, so they needed to have a pianist to play some music during the projection. So it wasn't really good to discover all of these details and also represent these objects in game, because I had to study how exactly everything works.
What's the most interesting finding after you did so much research? Like, what's the thing that made you say, "Wow, I didn't know this"?
Yeah, it was about this last thing that I said, because at the time, the cinema wasn't like we know today. You go to a movie to see a movie in a movie theater. It was a rough structure into Luna Park, for example, because it was one of the attraction among others. It wasn't like we know today. And also, they have a pianist not inside, but also outside the structure, just to attract the audience. Hey, let's come to see this projection. It was really fun.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Now,
and by the way, I'm just building on what Chiara said. Our very first level, which is based in Paris, in the early, in the very beginning of the past century, we are in a Luna Park. So this is how the game starts.
mhm. And now going back to you, Ivana, how does the collaboration between you two look like? Like, how does the collaboration between narrative and 3D art look like? What do you need to provide for Chiara, and Chiara, what do you need to provide for Ivana, so you make sure you're on the same page?
Well, actually, I collaborate more with our 2D artist.
Mhm,
And not with Chiara,
mhm,
because what I do in the narrative design is to think of the movies which can be more appropriate to go along with the story I want to tell. What you can see in our game is not only the spectacular 3D art that Chiara does,
mhm,
but also
Thank you.
frames of the movies which are projected onto the wall. Those frames are drawn. They are
mhm,
handmade by our 2D artist. who also draws the posters. So the coordination between me and our artist, 2D artist, is basically this one. So I have an idea about a movie. He said to me, "Okay, I like that, but what about this other movie?" Because he's a huge fan of cinema. So we discuss a lot about which choice is the best one for movie rooms, and that's it. I think that in general, collaboration and communication is one of the strengths of our team, because we're a dozen of people working on movie rooms, and we're based in different parts of Europe. We're a French-Italian team, so whenever we want to have some other ideas, or to check if what we have in mind is all right, or we're not sure about the direction of our work, we just write a message on Discord and say, okay, who's up for a chat? And I mean, I think it's amazing that we are all remote workers, and we can just have all those different cultures and backgrounds mixing into our game.
Then let me ask you this thing: how does your collaboration look like with the other people in the other departments and the other parts of the world?
It's for me, the question.
Yes.
Okay. It looks good, because apart from the art department, I talk a lot with both Arianna, who is our producer, and Marie, the game director, basically to speak about the game design and the game design and narrative design documents that we are laying out. But I mean, I'm really happy for this collaboration. Now we also will have a new gameplay programmer who we haven't met him yet, but he's Portuguese. So
Nice.
I'm really excited for how international Mad Pumpkins is becoming more and more.
You're gonna have someone from each and every country at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing. We're still searching for more grants, funds. We have already won a Kickstarter campaign, but of course, building a video game is not an easy task, especially when you speak about the economics.
All right, now Chiara, it's your turn. How does your collaboration look like with the other teams and other team members? Like, how do you work with the others?
Yeah, I'm strictly connected to the programmers, in this case with the lead programmer, and we are in the core building of the game. And so we spend our time just talking about assets and integrations and producing pieces and put everything together, just making sure that every feature that comes from the design department just is correctly integrated, and everything it is working actually. So we test a lot the game, and we are right now in that situation in which we pass all our days just like in a bunker, just producing, and just me and the programmer and me, and then of course there is a lot of talking with the Arianna Queen. So that's why, as Ivana said before, we don't actually have so many interactions about the game, because usually things comes from design department, and we have to integrate them.
Because design said so.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And I'm really curious, how do you make sure that you are on the same page with programmers? Like, how do you make sure that what they're telling you you can do and vice versa? Like, how do you coordinate?
So, sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Like, how do you coordinate with programmers so you make sure that what they're telling you you can do and what you are telling them that they need they can do?
Yeah, we just stay on a call all the day, and
Makes
we
sense.
just try to get in sync with the asset integrations. So we cooperate in the same project, and we
Mhm.
need to continue just communicating all the day. And yeah, and is that something that we do always together, so we don't just lose any step during the process. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's the only way to make sure that we are at the same time in the same aspect of the game, just working correctly.
Mhm. And what were some of the challenges that you and the programmers needed to face and ultimately go over and deliver?
Oh, just talking about the very first level of the game,
Mhm.
just integrating these little rats, because at that time, in the early 1900s, there
Mhm.
was a hygiene problem.
Mhm.
So in the cinema, in this rough version of the cinema, you have to pick up out these little rats in order to keep your audience inside the cinema and not to bankrupt at the early stages of the game.
Mhm.
And so integrate all of these rats, it was a little bit challenging, because we need to consider technical aspects like how many characters we have in one level,
Mhm.
how many rats we can have at the same time in one level before the game crashes down. So it was kind of the situation.
And how did you manage to solve that?
Yeah, we I optimized the rat asset, so I just keep lower in polygons the
Mhm.
model, and also we define maximum number of uh,
Mhm.
um, of rats that needs to compare at the same time. So we test a lot to achieve that result.
Mhm. How about you, Ivana? What were some of the challenges on the narrative side of things, and how did you manage to overcome them?
Well, one of the challenges, which is actually ongoing right now,
Mm.
because as I said to you, we only have 3 levels, which are basically ready, is trying to find a different narrative approach for the different levels. Because one of the questions that we get a lot, also from publishers, is okay, the core game loop sounds great, but what about the increasing difficulty of the game?
Mhm.
So of course, players playing a simulation game, management game, are really up for a challenge. They don't really like some easy games.
Mhm.
If they want like an easy experience, they can choose the sandbox mode, which is very relaxing. You can do basically whatever you want. But if you're up for a challenge, well, the game should be able to provide for the challenge.
Mhm.
So what I always have in mind is how can I try to make cinema history, contemporary history, and gameplay mechanics communicate with one another. Uh,
Mhm.
I do have some answers for now, just like the one I told you about, but censorship. But we're still trying to find as a team all the different gameplay solutions for the whole levels. They are not the priority for the moment, because what we are really focusing on as a team is to launch these first 3 levels in early access mode, so that we can provide a full experience for the first levels while keeping on developing the game. So speaking about this part, my challenges at the moment are trying to find some more than one narrative quest that can be integrated into the level, so that every narrative quest can deliver a different part of that time. So, for example, speaking about historical figures, or speaking about the technology that was up to date in that time. So, as Chiara was saying, there used to be magic lanterns. For now, it's now when you speak about the magic lanterns, it really feels like magic. It's something really. It's almost alien-like, having these objects that work in a completely different way than modern day projectors. So it's like, how can the narratives deliver all these facets of cinema history? This is what's constantly on our mind as a team.
You mentioned the challenging aspect, and I'm curious, what happens if a player fails the challenges and they don't meet the requirements? What happens then? Do they just get set back to the previous level? Like, how do things work?
Well, in each level, you need to have to conquer different stars. So if you manage to reach certain requirements, you will be able to unlock the next level. So the story mode is just one of the 3. Then you also have like to manage to go throughout the whole level without going bankrupt, and meet certain levels of audience satisfaction. So basically, the most part of each level revolves around basic management game structures. So our players will need to do basically what they are already confident with. So managing our cinema theater, making it thrive, building some more, etc. Then the story mode will just build on top of those other 2 features in each level. Of course, what happens if the player does something wrong? I mean, if you manage your money in not in a correct way, you will go bankrupt. This is what happens.
I got it. Going back to you, Chiara, what is some other research that you did for other levels, or was this first level your top priority right now and to get it right?
I worked on the 80s, that period, to produce other assets, and that was really funny because I loved, the old school style of certain objects. For example, I needed to produce this arcade room with the every very iconic model of arcade. And so I did a research about these arcades. What were exactly the most famous arcades and the most iconic at that time, and also on the present day, because also they are right now. And I just create a new version, but a little bit similar to the old one. For example, I used Pac-Man and Space Invaders and Tetris, and also another one, Tron. That the design of the box was very good, and amazing. So I just realized taking inspiration to that one, and so I did this arcade room with the tons of neon lights, purple, blue, and so these crazy colors, and it was great.
I imagine those would evolve as we advance through time, and they would get more modern by
Yeah.
each era. Now, since we're talking about movies and we were talking about different eras, I need to ask both of you, which is your favorite era in terms of movies? Who wants to start?
Oh God, this is a good one.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm not really sure what to answer because I mean it's so hard, but I'd say maybe something in between the 80s and the 90s because it's the period in which different genres were really flourishing. The golden era of sci-fi, fantasy movies. So it's like, plus I'm a nostalgic person, so everything going down that period, it feels really special to me. But yes, apart from that, I really watch movies from every eras. So yeah, I'm a general cinema lover. That's it.
How about you, Chiara? Well, what's your favorite period in the movie history?
I prefer to say that I have favorite movies, but maybe it's similar to what Ivana said, but maybe between 90s and yeah, the decade of the 90s. But I really appreciated the Lord of the Rings movie series. Because of at that time there wasn't that integration, so massive integration with 3D visual effects, but at the same time there was a strong a narration and direction, and it was great without tons of special visual effects and so on. So that period, in my opinion, it was great for cinema because there was space to tell stories without this only visual effects. That still a space to the narration and other aspects that make quality in a
They
movie.
kind of left room for imagination because you had a limited set of tools, so you needed to work with what you had.
Yeah.
You mentioned you have different favorite movies, so I'm obviously gonna ask you about those and what are your favorite movies?
So I go first.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I can go.
So as I said, Love the Rings because of obvious, you know, reasons, and I really appreciate movies that talk about different cultures and maybe that are in original language. I tell Apocalypto, but it's really modern as a movie because of I really appreciate that kind of culture and how Mel Gibson just talk about that period, the conquer of America, and so on. So these two, maybe.
How about you, Ivana?
Well, every time that I get asked this question, I always reply different movies because I have so many of them. So the answer can really change. But if I have to mention a couple of them, I'd say Spirited Away by Hayao Miyazaki or Fight Club. Fight Club. I'm a huge Fight Club fan. Or if I have to mention a saga, I would say Star Wars. And I find really interesting what you were saying. You both were saying about visual effects, because the very first Star Wars are the perfect example of amateurish visual effects. I mean, if you watch the earliest movies of Star Wars, the Star Wars saga, I mean, they almost make you smile
Mhm.
because how amateurish some visual effects are. But I think this is the most fascinating part of them. I mean, I love the second half of the saga. So the one who has been made in the early 2000s.
Mhm.
I mean, visual effects are great. Also Yoda, who
Mhm.
is one of my favorite characters, looks stunning. I mean, he's not a puppet anymore.
Mhm.
But there's something fascinating about how those stories had been told originally,
Mhm.
with also the means of productions that were available at the time.
I think that's the magic of it because, as you said, it was really amateur in the way that they produced visual effects, but the story was so captivating that you were
Yeah.
ignoring those things because you were paying attention to the story more than what was happening around. Like what was happening around is more of a support to the story itself. But you mentioned favorite characters, and I'm not gonna ask you about favorite characters, but I'm gonna ask you about favorite actors.
Favorite
Favorite actors.
actors? Okay,
Oh my God.
maybe directors is an easier question
Go
rather than
ahead.
I don't know, because I'm not sure whether I have a favorite actor, because I tend to judge an actor or an actress uh, based on the performance of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some actors. I mean, the first one who comes up to my mind is Leonardo DiCaprio, who
Mm-hmm.
has act into a very wide range of movies, thrillers, romance, period drama. I mean, lots of them. But I don't think that he's uh, a good actor in each one of them. There are
Mm-hmm.
some performances which I prefer most. For example, if I have to talk about him, I love his performance in The Wolf of Wall Street. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was the performance that was really needed to get an award like an Oscar, and not The Revenant, for example. But I mean, it's my opinion. If I have to talk about directors, for example, I'm a huge Tarantino fan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Speaking of most other more contemporary filmmakers, also love Bong Joon-ho. Parasite is
Mm-hmm.
another of my favorites of all time. Yeah, also really appreciate on our Italian side the works of Sorrentino, but also Enzo Dalò, who is an animation director.
Mm. I'll need to ask you more about that after our interview. But
Yeah, of course.
Chiara, how about you? Do you have any favorite actors or favorite directors? Your choice.
Oh my God.
Directors, actors, both, whatever you want.
No, no. I'm talking about actors
Go ahead.
because yeah, I'll tell Christian Bale
Mm-hmm.
because in my opinion he um, has a great charisma
Mm-hmm.
in so many performances that he just did through the time in
Mm-hmm.
so many different roles. So that was really amazing for me. And you know, Brad Pitt, but not uh, for how he actually looks, but
Mm-hmm.
um, for example, in Fight Club, it was good,
Uh,
very good, and so
Great
uh,
performance.
it's very aggressive, but also funny. It's a wide array of possibilities to act in so many different roles. And Meryl Streep,
Mm-hmm.
because it's amazing woman, and
Mm-hmm.
she's of course so great in acting, and the same thing for her because every time that she just have a different role through the time. At every stage of her career, she was great.
Mm. Since you mentioned Lord of the Rings, I feel like someone who really deserved an Oscar but didn't get it is Andy Serkis. Like that guy is a legend in terms of motion capture, and I don't know why he didn't get an Oscar. Like not only for Gollum but Caesar in Planet of the Waves. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
there are many actors who deserve an Oscar but didn't get one. But who are we to judge?
Yeah.
We're just the
Everybody.
consumers. But yeah, it was really amazing to chat with you about how to bring all these stories from the movie history to life in your game, and I'm really gonna look forward when more levels are gonna be added, when you're gonna add more assets, and I think you're building something unique with this game, and I'm all up for it. I can't wait to see what you're going to build.
Thank you so much. I mean, we're really happy to work on something that is actually unique. There are no other management games about movie theaters. There are some about movie production, but speaking about movie theaters, there are none. So we're really proud as a team to um, to do something really rare in the video game industry.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks, folks, for listening to us and to the story of this amazing game. I would advise to keep your eyes on it. I definitely will. And if you think like you found something useful from our interview, and maybe you want some other people to listen about the game, to listen about the experience of these amazing ladies that were here with me today, these are gonna be recorded, so you can always point people to these recordings and say, hey, these people are doing cool stuff, maybe it's worth looking at them. But other than that, thank you, folks, for joining with us, and I'm gonna see you around for another interview. I have a few more prepared for you, so stay tuned, and see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.